Welcome to yet another episode of the Community Podcast that is brought to you by Ethos Africa. As you are aware, this season we are profiling Rotary in Uganda and talking all things philanthropy to do with Rotary. This particular episode, we will be profiling the Rotary, one of the Rotary clubs in Uganda, one that has existed for several years and has contributed greatly through philanthropy to communities that it serves. With me is a member of the Rotary Club, and I'll ask him to introduce himself, tell us about himself and the Rotary Club that he belongs to.
Thank you very much, Malcolm, and greetings to all our listeners and viewers. My name is Charles Odaga. I am a member of the Rotary Club of Kampala South. It's one of the several clubs within the Rotary district. I do play an important role currently. I am actually the sitting president of the Rotary Club for the period July 2021 to June 2022. So I've got a bit of a few months left to perform that role. But yes, Rotary is what it is. We are glad to be Rotarians, and I hope I'll be able to give you better insights about philanthropy vis-a-vis Rotary through this discussion.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Charles, and very welcome to the Community Podcast.
Thank you.
So could you, as you know, this podcast is about philanthropy. It's about profiling African giving and specifically how Ugandans give. And we have heard a lot about Rotarians who are Ugandans, and we would like to understand how do they give. But first, could you tell us what generosity and giving means to you as a Rotarian?
Okay, maybe just to take you one step back, I love making the discussion about Rotary very clear by just defining who we are even better way. Now, Rotary is a service organization of people who put together their skills and resources to help the less privileged in society. Now, we, as an individual, you are called a Rotarian, but every Rotarian belongs to a Rotary Club, and then the confluence of Rotary clubs belong to Rotary International. Okay, so right at the top is Rotary International, which is the overseeing body for all these clubs there. Rotarians about 1.3 million in the entire world, and lots, I think, way over 5,000 clubs. So that gives us a better understanding of what it is. So what did you say is generosity to
what does generosity mean to you?
Okay, generosity to us. First of all, one of our common leaders, it's called past district governor Bob Nsibira, described Rotarians as irrational people. To be a member of a Rotary Club and to be able to serve, normally people would think I just have money. I'm coming to sit down with you, and then I'm going to give this money, and possibly we're going to build a well for less privileged people that need it. But no, Rotarians were irrational in the sense that we pay money to become members of a Rotary Club, and in effect, then being able to be allowed to give, whether it's money, resources, time, all that stuff. So we have to pay to belong to a club. So that's the irrationality about us. That is the best standpoint you can look at in terms of generosity. You need to come out of your way to join a Rotary Club to be allowed to serve.
Yeah. So you actually are paying for the opportunity to continue to be able to give.
Yes.
Yes. Wow, that's a very interesting perspective to.
Yep, it is quite interesting
to giving. So could you tell us about your Rotary Club, when it started, who your constituents are, and how you practice giving as Rotary Club?
Okay, the Rotary Club of Kampala South will be 30 years in November this year, so it's been around for quite a while. The geographical names were originally where they used to meet. So this club was originally formed by Ugandans of Asian descent. So they used to meet in Najanankumbi, which is Entebbe Road, kind of south of Kampala. That's why it's called Kampala South. But through the years, we have transitioned and now no longer hold on to the geographical ideal meeting space, but we currently meet at a central location in town, Hotel Africana. That's where we have our meetings. We have our weekly meetings every Monday. They are part of the requirements of being a Rotarian. You have to attend meetings because during these meetings we get to put our ideas together and then harness all those ideas together to identify needs within the communities.
Yeah.
And then we need to raise monies in order to cater for these needs and address them and handle them and resolve them. And we love doing things, or we are expected to get our hands dirty in impactful projects. What do I mean by impactful projects? Things that will have a lasting change, will create change in the communities. We do not just go out and dump, for want of a better word, a borehole into a community without conducting tests whether they actually need it. The community needs to work with us and welcome us, and then we're able to deliver impactful projects. Now, did you say how do we
how do you do? But you mentioned the ways in which you are generous as Rotarians, and you mentioned time, you mentioned money, and then other resources. So can we first explore, because time is a very important resource as well, and many times that is not quantified, it isn't costed. Can you share with us how Rotarians give their time as part of philanthropy?
All right. First of all, I would like to put one thing clear. Rotary goes out of her way to ensure that time is valued, is captured, recorded, and valued. I think 2 years back, the last I checked the statistic, we should have given total Rotarians world over, I think gave over $45 million worth of time when converted to the amount of time, yes, when it's costed. But that said, we give in many ways. As I told you, to join a Rotary Club, you need to pay what we call fees or dues. So you have your annual dues that you pay. We pay monies that go to Rotary International, which is the holding body. Then we pay money to the club for administrative duties, which also do run projects. But then that money is never enough because the demands are huge upon us. A number of things that we want to do, the desire that we want to do them, we're always curtailed by possibly the level of generosity and giving. But that not said, we still go out of our way to give. Now, to be able to raise these monies and to give, as I said, some people give time. Not everybody has a lot of money. There's some people who don't have time and have a lot of money and will say, okay, for this project, we are looking for $10,000. I'll give you $6,000. Then we'll get the little bits, the small pieces or the small amounts from individuals, whether it's $10, $5. I want to use the dollar cents to keep the conversation level. But if I bring it down to Uganda shillings, a person can even give you 10,000, which is about like $2.
Yeah.
But he's given, and then he's going to give you those $2 and say, when we are going for this project, I'm ready to go and push the wheelbarrow as we move the building blocks from the place where they have been dropped to the mason who is going to do the brick and mortar works. So we all do that. What does this give? What does this enhance in our generosity? We get to have the feeling, you want to be able to get involved in these projects because there is the moment when you go back to yourself and find it inward that if I give 10,000 shillings or $2, that's 10. I think I need to do better. I need to look for more money. I need to save off money from my expenditures and give more to the people who are needy, because even at our very least, we are a lot better than most of the people in the world. Yeah. So that starts it. But then we also go out to deliberately organize fundraising events that will be able to raise monies way and above what our dues can give us. Okay. And in our club, the Rotary Club of Kampala South, we have a very popular event which for the last 2 years has been under a lull because of the pandemic situation. We had a famous boat cruise. Now, that boat cruise, by the last edition we had about 950 people on a boat having fun. At the end of it all, we were able to raise about 40 million net, 40 million Uganda shillings. If you round it off, possibly about way over $10,000. Now, what do we do with that kind of money? We were raising that money specifically to address one of our needs. We have put up a health center in one of the environment. It's called it out of town areas which needed a health facility. It's called Chikandwa. It's quite popular. We put up a health center through a number of years. We phased the project approach. We first had the general ward, then we have put up a maternity ward. Now we've put up a children's ward, and also we're going to have a male ward for the gentlemen. So now that money we got $10,000. We've got partners. A group of students in Des Moines University, I think in the USA. So they also put money together, give us about another $25,000, and so we do the construction of that block. But that's not all. Rotary also gives us an opportunity. This money that we contribute to Rotary International, there is what we call a contribution to the annual fund. Now, the money that you give to Rotary International, it's got a very formidable foundation called the Rotary Foundation that invests this money, and after about 3 years, that money comes back to the district through district designated funds and monies that are given to global grants. So ideally, we are able to make applications, whether you need to do an application for a global grant based upon needs, a bit of a detail there which may not be very relevant to this. But at the end of the day, even the money that we send to Rotary International comes back. Most recently, in this Rotary Club that I belong to, we have been able to hand over a 3-bed dialysis center to Mengo Hospital. Okay. Now, Mengo Hospital is about 125 years old today. They had never had a dialysis unit in the hospital. But we did approach them. They were very welcoming. They gave us space. We had quite a bit of deliverables on each side. Took about 2-3 years writing, putting together that global grant application, and then we did actually win it mid of last year. It's worth about $84,400, and we're able to give them 3 beds. The emotions that you could see in the patients that were being treated, because the need for dialysis in this country is so huge, and the demand outstrips the supply of the equipment. So yes, we hope that with continued funding, we shall be able to expand, because the capacity of the unit is 7 beds, but we only raise money for 3. So with time, we will beef that up. So that gives you some insights into what we do about generosity vis-a-vis where we channel it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Charles. And I think we've so far learned that Rotarians are irrational. They actually pay so they can be able to give, yes, and to serve. And that is a very interesting perspective to philanthropy. And I think from what you're saying, what I'm also picking is that Rotarians actually give, and it is the collective that makes the difference. That the 10,000 shillings that I give, the 10,000 shillings that you give, yes, and the rest of the club members give, that then gets invested by the Rotary Foundation, yes, and then comes back 10, 20-fold, yes, and that is what goes to the community. To the communities. I think that is a very fantastic. That's just one of the models, as yes, I said, just to put it straight. We do also just raise monies locally without even having to send it. We can partner with individuals or organizations or corporations, and then, we have organizations like currently we have a partnership with PKF. It's one of the big 4 auditing firms here that we have in the country, and they work with us in projects that especially pertain to restoring and sustaining the environment. So they do have partners that supply them seedlings. We go and get people that give us land where we can plant trees. So that is on the environment aspect. Tomorrow, as I speak, we have another intervention with them regarding maternal and child ethos. They've given us money. We're going to put up a model that focuses. We're going to launch a model of maternal and child health, which focuses on the non-communicable diseases that have a high mortality rate amongst pregnant mothers, especially hypertension and what the doctors call postpartum hemorrhage. I don't want to go deeper. That's as much as I know, but but you can see that we are partnering with people. This money doesn't go out, but even locally, you partner with people. Sometimes we partner with, let's say, schools or individuals that have maybe financial literacy. We work in communities, and we maybe give them,
help them with matters of financial literacy. It could be a lawyer who comes around and says, I'm going to teach people about inheritance and all that stuff. So we give these free things that if you actually manage to codify them financially, it's a lot of money, but then we're able to put those resources. And that's why they say for you to be a Rotarian, you need to have a vocation. You need to have something, some skill set, some knowledge that you are willing to share with those who are less privileged.
Yeah, that's quite wonderful. I think there's you talk about partnering with organizations, with companies, and yet there are so many entities that want to do that. How easy have you found it to be able to do that? What image do you have to portray as Rotarians for that kind of partnership to actually work? In the 30 years of Kampala South Rotary Club, have there been times when you've struggled to actually get corporates on board for any particular reason, and how has that changed?
Yes, we usually struggle. I'll tell you without an iota of doubt, we usually struggle to get companies or corporates to buy into our ideology. Many corporates set out with their CSR budgets focused on a particular area. Yet you have identified a need which is wayward of their CSR. So when you talk to them, they say we're interested possibly in let me say if they're interested in environment only and you are looking at education and basic literacy, it's hard to get them to undo that budget and channel it to you. So you need to, through the years we've learned that we try to sell these ideas to corporations and give them time and say, this is what we are planning to do. If maybe in your next year's budget, you may have to rethink your CSR and factor in this, but it's not been easy coming. But sometimes, and more often times than not, corporations have come to us when they have realized that we have taken the first step. We've done the dirty work. So they always, then they will start wanting to associate with you because they have seen the value that you're attracting. You have a great appeal in communities. So then it's easier for you to sell that proposal to them. But there's always a pain point. There are always pain points that we have to break through. But we are Rotarians. We don't give up. Nothing can stop us. We will try as much as possible to ensure that we're able to give to the societies that so need these resources.
And that is fantastic. So you're saying that it takes a certain building a level of trust to be able to have philanthropy done the right way.
Yes.
Because if you have corporations that are putting money aside for with a certain predisposition as to how they want to spend it, without necessarily identifying that as a need, then after you've built a sense of trust, then they can be able to come and hand money over to a Rotary Club and have the Rotary Club implement one of those projects. Could you speak to us about the areas that Rotary is interested in giving to? You speak about a lot of health projects in Chikandwa and the one you're doing with PKF. You mentioned something about education and basic literacy. What are the areas, what are the social justice issues that Rotary has identified and is giving towards?
Okay, just want to take you back to before I answer that, to the levels of trust. We as Rotarians, one of our guiding principles is integrity. So organizations and individuals have come to learn through the years that when they deal with us, their monies are accounted for to the very last drop. Even when Rotary Foundation will not take any excuse for financial impropriety. Okay, you need to be able to account for the monies that they give you. Rotary does not have a problem to spend $15,000 to investigate a loss of $200 because that money needs to be accounted to the people that give. Fast forward to the areas of focus that Rotary is interested in. There are principally 7 areas. I'll enumerate them. We got basic education and literacy, maternal and child health, economic empowerment. We have peace and conflict resolution, water, sanitation, and health. And one of them slips my mind. But yes, that I've given you about 6. So there are about 7 areas, and I hope I remember them off my head as we go along. But yes, that ideally forms the basis upon which, and if you look at those areas, ideally, so whatever tackles community lifestyles in the areas that do need these kind of things. So those are the areas. So when you are writing or looking for monies, you will be much accosted with comments around those areas of focus.
All right. You did share a little about how you partner and who you partner with. Could you just elaborate on who these partners are, whether it's always corporate entities? You've mentioned Mengo Hospital at some point. How do you partner with those entities? And also talk a little bit about your partnership with communities. Because I think for philanthropy to be successful, there must be community buy-in. So how do you approach communities? How do you get a sense of what they need and then able to respond to it?
Okay, I'll start with the tail end of your question about how do we get the buy-in from the communities. Now, Rotary has a model. We call them Rotary Community Cups. Now, that is the model that we use to work with communities. What are community cups? Community cups are individuals in communities who form themselves in an association and do things that are similar to Rotarians. Their biggest difference is that they do not pay dues and fees like an ordinary Rotarian. They do not pay any fees and dues. So they work within the communities. They will go out. We may train them about hygiene standards, and then they go out to the community and talk to their people and say, this is how we need to deal with issues about malaria and all that stuff. Now, those people are our game changers within communities. They are people that have got the buy-in of the ethos of Rotary. Okay, now we will support them, we'll train them, we'll facilitate them, and they will be the eyes on the ground to work in the communities. Now, a case in point for the Rotary Club of Kampala South, we have got projects far-flung around this country. Okay, we've got projects in Kabale, in a place called Nyachonga, and we have a Rotary Community Cup there. Wow. For that one, we have been working especially in areas of economic empowerment. About 6 years ago, we gave them seed capital to start a circle, about 6 million shillings. Today, they have over 50 million shillings that they have generated from that action. Wow. You can see, so they owned that, and that's it. We have a community corps, community in Chikanda, where I told we have the health center. They have been, they're the ones who mobilize the community to make use of that health center, tell them what is there. When we have medical outreaches, they'll do that work. We have also given them seed capital. About a couple of years ago, we gave them about 3.5 million. I think by the last time I checked, about 10 million. So you can see, we don't ask them for any of that money. They generate that money amongst themselves. Now, the notion for us, we monitor and make sure that the funds are utilized justifiably and the accountability is right. So we have other community corps in Mbale, which is in the east of the country. There are two communities that we have community corps in. We have another one which we have set up in Iganga, just chartered actually about 2 weeks ago. We're setting up a library in the community, so it's hovering around basic education and literacy. So you can see they are the ones who either already existed and we just bring them into the picture of Rotary, but that is how we are able to administer, monitor, and control communities on the ground in far-flung areas. Now, remember, most of us are based here within the Central Business District. So those guys are really the boots on the ground, and they have given us a great foothold in the way we deliver and achieve our projects.
Okay. So we have it that the community is an important part of the success of every Rotary project, and that we have set up, Rotary has set up community corps in the different
areas, yes,
different communities. And I find it very interesting that you have the Rotary Club of Kampala South, and it has a project in Kabale, a project in Iganga, a project in Mbale, a project in Chikandwa, which is not even in Kampala. Is that something that all Rotary clubs are doing? Is that something that Kampala South specifically is doing? And how do you identify these communities?
Okay. The identification of communities, two ways. Normally, it could be an individual Rotarian. All of us come from various areas within the country, and we know what happens on the ground. So if I say come from Pakwach, and I will tell my clubmates that, guys, we have a huge problem with, let's say, lack of safe drinking water. That will normally form the basis upon which we will go and conduct a needs assessment, and then we will rate these projects based upon the financing models, the amount of money that we have vis-a-vis also in a club like ours, we do a strategic plan. So we have certain projects in the pipeline, which we will do over time, but we try to stick to the strategic plan so we are not haphazard in the way we operate. Now, that helps a lot. So the individuals will come and sometimes people come and approach us, they hear of Rotary. So through their relatives and friends, they will come and approach and say, we do have a sick person who needs help here and there. And then there has to be a unified decision. As a club and as a leader of the club, I cannot make an independent decision to say we are going to department this. You won't get buy-in from the club members. So we normally identify a project or a need, discuss it at the we call it the board, the executive committee. When we think we have put some meat to the bone, then we send it to the club. We have a club assembly and we put it in. Some projects get shut down and they say, no, can we paint this? If you get a buy-in, then you're sure that when you start thinking of ideas like calling upon the generosity and fundraising, then you're going to get the buy-in. Now, I just want to take you back to also you intimated about why Mengo Hospital, why this. So also those hospitals, we have had Rotarians either as doctors and they have identified the need and then they come back to us and then we have that discussion. We have approached certain people that have not been that welcoming to our ideas of us wanting to help them. They have held their cards close to their chest and they have not been. So we walk away. Okay, sometimes they come back when we have already moved on. Okay, but that's what we do. We will approach you when we think we want to work with you, like with the dialysis center. We wanted to work with Mengo. They will come just with open hands and see what they got. They are now. We've saved them that investment that they would have needed to do worth over $80,000, and we don't expect anything back from them. All we want to see is that thing is impactful. So we'll maintain a team on the ground to do monitoring and evaluation, because with time we want to scale that up and we need to give a report to Rotary International and say, now, I think we have done well for the past 24 months. Can we look for another amount of money? Yes.
Okay. And I think you said something quite interesting there about how Rotarians don't expect anything in return. But that's the game. How do you benefit from that contribution? And whereas that might not be the ethos of philanthropy, we all know that for sustained philanthropy, there is a certain level of receipt that keeps the giver going. So as a Rotarian, what keeps you going as Rotary Club of Kampala South? What keeps you going? What do you? I don't want to say get from giving, but what do you get from giving?
Okay, it's twofold. Every Rotarian wants to see the effect of their efforts. Should I call it the effect or the feedback from the communities or individuals that we help? It's the look of in their faces, that excitement. There's no better feeling of reward than seeing the faces light up of children who no longer have to go and walk for 5 miles to fetch water when they turn a tap, when you have sunk a well for them. I told you a week ago we launched this dialysis center. The interviews we had with the patients on the bed were tear-jerking. It was a very humbling moment. But that, for me, that immediately we walked out of that meeting, I spoke to the members of the club and said, guys, we still have work to do. This feels like a drop in the ocean. But everybody's saying this is huge. What you've done is huge. But we feel we are already hungry and eager to do more. We are always told, do more, do better, grow more. Those are one of the mantras within the clubs, that we have a lot. There's so much. We have so much, as in we have kind hearts, we have good thoughts and ideas, we have resources amongst us. We can still help these communities and out there in the world. So for us, that's what gives us pleasure. But that notwithstanding, we also do get a lot of pleasure in just being amongst. We are a family. Rotary gives you a new family. So you got new friends, you got access to to huge networks to do your own business, your personal life. It's a whole thing, and that's why when you find Rotarians after a project like that, we party hard just to pat ourselves on the back. So we enjoy ourselves, our company. We enjoy doing what we do because of the feedback we get. Those bright eyes. I will never forget. There was a little girl in the dialysis ward the other day. When we were talking to her, eyes just lit up. She said today for the first time she was getting dialysis in the morning, because she normally waits hours till evening. Yeah, so she has to sit and wait in the various hospitals that she would go to. But today, that time she was fast on call it the ramp, and she was getting dialysis in the morning, and she was going to do her things. So those things, those comments, what more do I need as an individual to be buoyed and fired up to do more?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you so much. So as we wind down, what would you say would be your parting shot, your on generosity, from as seen through the hearts of Rotarians in Uganda?
Right. My parting shot would be, I wish this discussion could take longer. We talk about Rotary, but no problem. I'll give you my parting shot. My parting shot goes out to every individual out there. If you do know that people need help, the little money that you despise that is in your pocket, if put together with many other people, can change societies. We desire everybody to be a member of a Rotary Club. That would be our desire. But you can do this, you can harness resources together as a community and still approach us and say, this is what we want to do. We have gotten this amount of money. Can you help us? It's about everybody getting out of their comfort zone and saying, I don't have a lot of money. Let me just stick to my lane, as they call it. But there is so much potential within our individuals. Let's get off. Some of us get off our high stools and think we can't help or we don't need to help. Everybody needs to help, the less privileged. So I just want to call upon every individual that generosity doesn't cost you a thing. You can be generous with time. You can be generous with an idea. I mean, we have got guys who come and offer just to do the technical drawings or the architectural drawings of a project you want to do, and he walks away. He has not given you money. He's giving you two, three, I don't know how many hours it takes. But there's so many people, you are teachers out there. Come and help us go to communities that have never seen a teacher. Okay, so there's so many interventions as I lined up in the areas of focus that Rotary focuses on, which are an opportunity for every human being to help another. Okay, we all have people that are struggling. So let's put our resources together. Let's be generous. Let's give to the Rotarians that may be listening. Let's continue giving to the Rotary Foundation. By the to give to the Rotary Foundation, you don't need to be a Rotarian. You can just walk to Rotary Club. I'll give you a case in point. On Monday this week, we recognized a gentleman called Seamus Nsibirwa, who had gone out of his way during the pandemic and had been disinfecting the wards which had COVID patients. If you remember, in Entebbe, the police stations around, he did this on his own. So one of the prestigious awards a Rotary Club gives such individuals, what they call a vocational service award. So we gave this gentleman a plug, simple and clear. We had spoken to Uganda Airlines. They gave us an air ticket, return ticket to Johannesburg. So we recognized him and said, thank you so much. But at the end of the evening, I talked about the dialysis unit and said we needed more money today. He deftly pulled out his checkbook and signed a check to us of $500. Did we lose anything?
Wow.
We benefited from giving, you see. I don't want to go into the Bible thing about give and you receive, because everybody knows that. Everybody has a duty to give. So let's be generous. Let's not be selfish. Let's give, and we shall be able to transform this world. Thank you.
Indeed, Rotary membership seems to be that proverbial gift that keeps on giving. Because the little that you give gets others to give, and when that is given, even more is given.
And received,
and so the giving just goes on and on and on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Charles. It's been a pleasure hosting you on this community podcast series as we speak about Rotary. Our listeners, our viewers, there you have it. Rotary Club of Kampala South meets every Monday.
6 to 7.
6 to 7 p.m.
at Hotel Africana.
At Hotel Africana. And that's where you can join Rotary and be a part of the giving that happens in Rotary in Uganda. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.